Hello everyone and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, freelance graphic designer based in London, England. And today we have a real treat. We have Isabelle Poirier, designer from Canada, and she's going to be talking to us and showing us her process of how to design a logo. So Isabelle, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous, obviously. I won't lie, but it's gonna be okay.
It's all good. You're in a safe space. It's all good. We're gonna have some nice fun. We're gonna show some designs, and you're in a good place. All good. So yeah, welcome to everyone that's here. Just to kick off, if you've missed the last Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge with Julia, you can catch the second week of replays every weekday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And as always, we love to see your comments. I'm gonna be feeding that to Isabelle, and she's gonna be obviously answering those questions. So if you're on YouTube, best way to perhaps log on to Behance, and that way you can view and you can write the comments on there, and we can share them directly with Isabelle, and we can see the magic happen organically, which is going to be great. So Isabelle, would you like to tell our audience about yourself and what we'll be working on today?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Isabelle Poirier. I'm French, so you might hear that accent. Sometimes it goes on thicker if there's a bit of nerves, so please bear with me. I am located in Ottawa, Canada, and I run my own design studio, which is called IP Design. So IP Design essentially is a virtual studio, virtual before the pandemic. I was cool before everyone else. Haha.
So last stream, I love that.
No, but the reason why I say virtual is because I work with other freelancers here and there to offer a full service to my clients. So I mainly focus on brand strategy and visual identities, but sometimes obviously the client may need some photography, some copywriting, some web development. So that's where it gets super fun, and I get to work with my friends on bigger projects.
Nice.
So that's by day. And then, I guess I should show you a bit of my website.
Yeah, let's go for it. I can see already in the chat. I can see we've got some of your friends, I think Izzy as well. Keegan, Martin, if that rings a bell.
Hey, Keegan. Yay.
Yeah, you've got a lot of love. I can see a lot of love in the chat already. We've got guys from New York, Nicholas, we've got Tessa,
wow.
Frank. There's a lot of people saying a lot of love. So congrats. This is huge, Izzy. So yeah, already off to a good start. It's all positive vibes.
Well, thank you so much for the good vibes, everyone. It's really appreciated. So these are a few projects that I've been working on. This is one of my favorite, actually. It's in Midnight Blue. It was a full brand identity for a nightclub in Quebec City. And it's an 80s, 90s inspired club. So I got to watch a lot of Back to the Future and Miami Vice and Cocktail Dreams to get inspired and just throw that into a brand, which was pretty great. And that's actually their physical space now.
Oh, that's awesome.
They really followed the style guide, which was great.
Yeah. I'm loving that neon vibes. I'm loving it. It's great.
Cool. Yes. And you can also find me on Behance, obviously. And I'll talk to you about this here because yes, I do this by day, but then by night, I'm actually the founder of a wonderful community, which is called the Ottawa Design Club. We're not the only city that has a design club. There's also Montreal Design Club and Marseille Design Club. And essentially we have events, podcasts, zines, and we celebrate creativity. And we call ourselves a design club made for designers by designers. So it's a safe space where we can just geek out about pruning in the Pantone colors of the year.
I love that. When you mentioned geeking out, I mean, this is basically the place to geek out. So we're in a good place for that. It's all good.
So this here, this wonderful zine is our passion project that was born out of the pandemic. I have one copy here. This is our second issue, and it's a call for, we have a call for submission, which we have another one for the third zine coming up really soon. And we feature art from local artists. And I say local, but it's very loose because of the pandemic. We were able to widen our radius. So we accept artwork from everyone, essentially. So maybe if you're thinking of having your work featured, please apply.
That's such a nice community-based project as well, to kind of bring everyone in together. So, and plus it's print, that's kind of my thing. So, I mean, you already had me at editorial and we could geek out, but yeah, obviously we're all here today for the logo design. So, and obviously a lot of people here from, I can see on the chat, which is great. Felix already said the zine is amazing. So you've already got a love
great.
on. And we've got Varun saying, I really like the sub-punk vibe back from your website. So yeah, they're loving your styles. So
that's great.
Logo design.
Logo design. So we have a full plate happening. Hold on, I'm just going to do a full screen view for this.
So we're immersed within it. I love that.
Yeah. So we will be designing a logo for a fashion brand. The brand is called NIYO D, and it is a very special brand because we did a lot of digging into the brand strategy. So we had a big exploration phase at first. And essentially, Darius Ruta, who is the creator and visionary. See, that's the French coming out.
I love mix it up. It's all good. It's all diverse here.
Right? That's to sprinkle a little magic on top. So essentially he wanted to create a brand where he could feel represented, and he has moved around. So he is from Rwanda, then went to live in Belgium, and then just came to Ottawa, Canada, about a few years ago. So he said that he did not necessarily find a fashion brand that would convey all of his roots and like allow himself to have that full self-expression. So he wants to create it. When there's a problem, there's always a solution, right?
Of course.
So essentially each piece of clothing is supposed to tell a story. Hence why this is a mood board that I suggested for the brand. And there's like a story here. This was a second mood board. Obviously there's a lot of cultural influence from the Intor dance. The Intor dance, it's the traditional dance, and it's like a happy dance. Whenever there's a big celebration like a wedding, that's where they all get dressed up and they get all together, and it's like the full village that gathers around and celebrates.
Good vibes, good energy. Just I like that.
I can't wait to do this again. Like we are starting to open up here. I can't wait to do the same.
I feel like I could just break into song and dance because we're so happy because of lockdowns coming out. It's just
exactly.
I can see actually from the chat, Varun has actually said that that same city that you just mentioned is from the same country where he's from. So we've got some people actually which is in the area. So that's amazing. It's quite nice.
That's amazing.
A diverse audience.
You can tell me if I got this right or wrong. So here we have the shield here, which I have the more detailed research after, but this was very important to be represented in the brand for Darius. And he's like, see here how like he really liked this. It's like an icon, but it could kind of be perceived as a shield as well, as you can see here. And that was like a very important key to be added in the brand and obviously logo. So after showing him those 3 mood boards, he selected 2. So that allowed me to do a bit of design research. Hold on, I will just
on that, Lara. I'm sorry, Isabelle. We've got Lara. She made a very good question. Can you talk a little bit about the process behind the strategy? I'm guessing behind the visuals that you've kind of created, the method behind the madness, as it were.
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
You can do it interpretive dance if you want. If you want to bring it out.
Yeah.
Way, probably not.
I won't do it justice.
Okay. So what's the method? Yeah.
So there, like, I have a long questionnaire that's like it covers the part for the positioning of the brand or the business, and then I have like some question that covers the design aspect and anything else that needs to be talked about. It's a long questionnaire. There's about 45 questions. And it took me years to gather them around, just like to, find that happy medium where it's not too long. And it's just like we're covering everything. And the reason why I like to do it as an interview is because you get more out of just the client, like answering them. So once we do the interview together, I actually type back everything in the questionnaire and I send it to the client saying, hey, did we miss anything? Did you change your mind? Some questions are like asked in a different way. They're kind of the same on purpose to see if the thinking is aligned.
Sure. I like that.
Yeah. And I have like question and challenge a few of my clients, and they're like, this is hard. And I'm like, yeah, but once this is done, everything goes like so smoothly. You'll see. And whenever the branding process is done at the end, they say, oh my God, like I was able to use that document for other things. It saved me a lot of time. So it becomes like this awesome working tool. So that's how I got there.
I love that. And you mentioned a really good point about the challenging part as well. I think that's quite good with client, because sometimes it's that element of how much do I want to challenge the client, but then you both want to get to the best possible deliverable, right? So you've kind of covered quite a lot of those questions. So that's a really cool way of actually trying to get that solution done.
I can actually talk about something that I challenged Darius with. Essentially, I said, okay, like, yes, you want to build this cool fashion brand that's representing you, but like, apart from that, how are you different? How will you be different? Like, what's the vision? And we talked a lot about that. And he's like, well, and he, as he was starting, he came to me very early in this business. Like he had this idea and he's like, I want to have the full visual identity done, because he wants to do patterns with the icon. So he had to start there. So I'm like, okay, well, as we were talking and, because it was so personal to him, I'm like, how about each piece of clothing tells a story, your story. You could attach like even like maybe on the label, or have like this mini like postcard, and it could be a good story, a bad story. So that way the feeling that you were going through when you moved around can be transpired into the piece of clothing. And that's reassuring for the buyer, saying like, I'm not the only one who feels that way. And he's like, yes, like that's exactly what I wanted to do. But see, it's not even my idea. It was there. It's just like, how do we take it from point A to point B? So that's it.
That's amazing.
So I'm very excited for him, like to launch everything, and started to work on some prototypes.
And you made a really good point as well when you mentioned the idea of the assets and the ideas, they're just there, but as designers is almost there to kind of help them kind of channel that vision of what they had in mind. But I mean, I love the idea of each clothing is bespoke in itself with their own story behind it. It just, there's an emotional connection, right, as well, of actually purchasing.
And it can be widened too, right? Like you can start with Darius' stories, and then it could be opened up to the world, anybody who has a story to share. So it leaves a lot of room for the audience, and that's a good brand.
Of course. I mean, I can already see in the chat as well, we've got a lot of people on the topic of different places and countries. We've got Luan from Brazil, and again we've got I feel like we're covering the whole hemisphere today, which is great. We've got a lot and actually on that topic of the questionnaires, just really Varan made a really good point. Do you find that the questionnaires are the same for every client, like a sort of template, or is it very much depending on the project?
So I have a template. I'll always start with some questions, and I also like an introductory call with the client before signing the contract. So I kind of know going in what we'll be talking about. So I do tailor a bit my questions per client, and I tell them that, and then they feel like, wow, she did this for me. Like they love that exclusivity. Exactly.
I love that.
So it's great.
Brilliant. Okay,
yeah.
Brilliant.
So that's it. So that's like, what we needed to focus on design was the, and I'm probably going to butcher that name. I'm so sorry, but it's the Ngabo, which is the shield, which that's what we saw here. It's like the visual references. And obviously, when we talked about like the positioning, Dahis has mentioned that he wanted to be at the same level as Louis Vuitton and, Gucci and Moncler. So there was like, I'm like, whew, okay, this is a
set the bar, right?
Exactly. Okay, we have a lot to do. So that's it. So based on the mood boards, like he chose, I'll just go back here. He chose those two, which were my favorites. And he even said, if you want to mix them up, that's totally fine. Because basically the scope was that I was going to present him with two logos.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, from this, like the type that I could see going with the logo was this here. So that was the research. And that's where I started really with the type. And after that, I started sketching a lot.
By the way, even the layout, I was going to say, of how you designed your PDF of this is beautiful. Just really clean and nice and simple.
Thank you.
So that also, I guess for those in the chat as well, if you're ever in that process of actually saying to clients, this is a good example of maybe, how you could present as well. So yeah, it looks great. We
will be talking about that a lot today, how to present the work to the client. Probably even more so than the design, like the logo design itself, but they go hand in hand. It's so important.
Very much
so I have like this here, like I always, like before going to Pixel, I like to start with pencil.
Oh, I like what you've done there. You should have this running caption on the screen.
Right? But no, I can't take the credit for it. It's actually one of like our community's member, Rob Smith, who says that, and that's like his thing, pencil before Pixel. But like, since he mentioned that, I'm like, yes, this is so good. And he has this big theory about it. So essentially the shield, oops, my God, I'm so sorry. I lost my AirPod.
You're back in the room. You're back with us.
I'm like shaking my head too much.
We lost you for a second and we're like, where's it? Yeah, we're all good.
Oh no. But yeah, so that's it. Like this was like kind of a shield exploration. And I just, again, looked at the references and I'm like, okay, how can that be translated into a logo? And then like this, I liked, but I'm like, it's not conveying that, Louis Vuitton, Gucci vibe that like we're trying to get. And I write myself a bit of notes, as you can see here, too intricate, good oval though.
I was gonna say, you've gone like completely freehand, didn't you? I love that.
Yeah. And the ones I like, I go back with like a dark marker just to see like with it, like is the contrast good enough? And then there was this here that I used the N and the D from NIYO D. And I'm like, oh, wait, like this is really interesting. And that's when I started playing with like the letters and kind of forming like this abstract form, same as what we would see like in the shield. So I'm like, okay. And say, bingo, this is it.
I love that you just put that there just so definitely it's a bingo at that moment.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
See, like this here is like the D is a mirror effect, the N and the same thing. It's actually like a full-on mirror effect, like four times. And in the shield, I'm like, this is really nice. And I could see it played well, whether we are going back with like a thick font, if I make thick lines, or even like a more thinner font. And like I specifically this, because I like how it goes from thin to thick. So I'm like, okay, like this is like, we're good to start to go on pixels now. So that was my research document.
So just on that sketches, I mean, that's excuse me, that's great to sort of see that hand-drawn feeling as well, because again, for some of you, quite maybe new to design and the process, some people tend to think you go straight onto computer and that's the first thing that you do, but actually just bringing it back old school, pen to paper, pencil to pixel, that's it. Pencil to pixel. If I want to get it right, I need to make sure it's correct. But yeah, just love seeing that process of how you do that, which again, just to show our audience, this is a really good way of how you would go into that transition So yeah, really nice. Even the annotations, I love the bingo. That for me.
Yeah, it's affirmation.
It's a giant star, right? So you know.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
that. Cool.
So that's it. So once you have this, and sometimes like I'll do that and then I bring it to Illustrator and it goes in a completely different way. But sometimes like in this case, it was like pure magic has happened.
I love that.
So speaking of that, let's go to Illustrator.
Just a random question, still relating to your sketches, but you can go in straight. Do you, and this is a weird question, but when you do your sketches, do you tend to do it on gridded paper or blank? Because there's a method I feel like with that. I'm just curious.
I mean,
does it not really matter?
So I don't think it matters. Okay. I mean, I have, this is a grid paper. Oh, sorry. Do you mean like in Illustrator?
No, sorry. I'm going to geek out with print, not too much because it's about a logo, but just that, I tend to use like a blank moleskin book for any sort of drawings, and then notes would be, more lined. But again, if there's a method to it, then cool. If not, if it's just random, do you tend to find there's no reason or just?
I mean, I'm a type of girl that does not necessarily color inside the lines. So even if there's lines, I don't follow it. Like as you can see, like if we go back here, like this, see, like this is another one that I did. It's all over the place. It's so messy. I don't even follow like anything.
Is there any bingos on that one? There's no bingo. We've gone bingo 03.
No, but there's a ew.
You set the tone. I like that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so Illustrator. So now that we're good to go on with the concept, let's try to create it. So I have here my fonts that I have already selected. I have already here vectorized them, and I keep them there as a reference always, because I can easily just do the option command, then bring it here and it copies it and I can cut, but they're always there. So I don't need to, type it or whatever. So it's just a way of working, I guess. I've always done that. And by the way, this will get messy. I have really messy. That's good. I think we're in Adobe Live here. We like to see that sort of creative flow juices. if it's perfect, then you're not doing it right. It's that journey, right? So and that's why hopefully the audience are here to see that journey with you. So we can do messy and then eventually go into profound. It's all good.
Amazing. So that's it. So that first of all, I wanted to find that oval shape, that perfect shape. So I'll just I like to just gauge with this here. What is that called? Do people know how this is called?
Ooh, I should know that, but if anyone can write that in the chat what that is. But I do like that tool. I use that quite often.
It's the best. And when is it that they actually changed that? Like that Adobe changed that? Because it was not always like that. Was it with the cloud?
Yeah, I think it was when I in that moment when you update, there's a thing that you can do, and then you're kind of playing around, and then realize you can do things like that. I feel like that was quite I want to say recent update, but yeah, hopefully it's one of those tools for those again who've never used it before. 100%, get on board and play around, and that's the beauty actually. Just very quickly with Illustrator, because you can actually just play around with shapes, and obviously trying to do that overlap and transparency and mirroring effect. So. Yeah.
So see, whenever you want to have this bigger, it kind of loses its shape. So because of that, I'll keep that one as a reference because I know I want to be using it for a few times. And I'll actually go and expand this. So then I keep my shape whenever I scale it.
Nice.
So I know that I want to be fitting the pattern or geometric shape, abstract shape, however you want to call it, inside this. Now let's get cracking.
Let's get design. And for those of you just for joining with for our Adobe Live, this is obviously Isabelle designing a lovely way of how to create a logo, and we're going to actually see an in-depth into the process of how she designs. So welcome if you've just joined us, and please obviously put those questions in the comments, and I'll be sharing those directly with Isabelle. So this is it's nice again to always see a designer's inflow as well of how you think. So that's quite cool.
Now I just kind of flipped it just to see. Sometimes it's not aligned. The align tool is my best friend. I align everything with it.
A line is our friend, definitely. Or you can mix it up depending how you want to do it, but yeah.
Just like, and here I can also reverse it, reflect. There we go. I'll try to.
And just a quick question, I mean, just so when you're designing as well, do you ever find, I mean, as designers, obviously we all have creative blocks. When you're designing like with your logos, how do you, it's a weird or tricky question, but how do you find that sort of smooth way of trying to, you know, get out of that creative hole or blockage? You go for a walk, or do you just find some real research? Have you got a bit of a process? How you untangle that knot?
I think I just moved to something else. So I started my business pre-pandemic, and it's I've been really busy. So I don't have always like that. It's good. It's really good. I'm not complaining at all. I don't know how I want to like space that yet. I'm just like playing around. So I just like group this here. Sorry, I'm just going to. So finding inspiration, I just moved to something else. I don't have the luxury to kind of wander around these days, and especially being locked in. So going for a walk is nice, but at the same time, it's like I would go for walks pretty much every day, and I would see the same thing. So at some point, it becomes redundant. Like I'm not seeing anything new, you know,
like a giant snow globe in a weird. Well, depending on what part of the world you're in, anyway. But it's like the Truman Show kind of weird effect. I get what you mean. I mean, I tend to, I guess, even for myself with inspiration, I'm quite fortunate where I live is there's a lot of lakes and a lot of nature, so it's quite nice. But also just, you know, going on magazines. I just like to have a good read of magazines. Try not to spend too much time online because your brains are so saturated by so much happening. It's just nice just to have, you know, a bit of an editorial. And even actually coming on to Behance, obviously we've touched on this before, you know, we're using Behance now. This is a really good tool. And again, for creating and connecting with different creatives. So for those of you who just joined and want to know a bit more about Behance, definitely recommend going on Behance for Adobe. So that's at behance.net/Adobe Live. And then that way you can connect, you can speak to other designers, and you can see a bit more into a trail of thought. So yeah, definitely worth having a little gander on there as well. So
call Behance the LinkedIn for creatives.
I love that.
Because it's like the best way to connect. See, like I did not necessarily follow like the design that I did like in my sketchbook, but it's nice to try around and like to see what fits together, and we can find like some other patterns, and like, if it's interesting, then we keep it. And if it's not, then we toss it. So let's play around. Is there like maybe a pattern that somebody would like to see in the chat, like with this?
Yeah, by all means. Oh, sorry, no, go on. I was going to say for anyone in the chat who's obviously just joined, again, by all means, throw in some suggestions if you'd like to see Isabelle do some rotation on it or some duplicates effects, just to kind of see how things, you know, we could experiment. That's the beauty of at this kind of early stage of the design. So yeah, please by all means put your suggestions in the comments, and I'll feed that directly to Isabelle.
So now we can also try it when it's like put together. That's actually quite interesting. The shape. I like this. So just a full disclaimer, this project is actually all done with the client, but we are like kind of remixing it today.
That's all good. Keep that a secret. It's okay.
It's a secret.
It's weird. What you've designed now, I can actually imagine. I don't know. My brain's like imagining that on like a business card, like embossed, because it's got that sort of thickness where you can imagine like. Maybe I just saw a mood board and got inspiration straight away, but just I could see that being like a nice embossed design.
I'm wondering if I should connect these two to see, but then we won't necessarily see the letters anymore.
Yeah, do you ever find, that's an interesting question, like, I guess with logos you're designing, but I mean, the key needs to be legibility, right? They need to be able to it can look as pretty as you want, but if it's not being legible, then it's a bit of a chocolate teapot. But yeah, I do got a bit of a piece. That's a thing. That is well, I don't know if it's a thing, but in the UK it might be anyway. Yeah.
See, like sometimes you have to like go back and squint to see. Do I like this? So like, then it's like, well, I'm just gonna.
It's like the designer look, right? When you sort of zoom a bit more into your screen, it's just like, yeah, it's totally a thing for. Well, I guess for anyone who's just really involved and in depth into design, it's you're focused. That focus.
That's it. The focus face. So that's like something I need to be aware of while doing this, because sometimes I'll go like.
No, that's good. We're getting a true experience into your process. So if you never had a focus face, then we're like, well, she's not being real, but this is the real transparent. So this is great. Everyone's got a focus face. Like if we could upload images in the chat, I'll say upload your focus face, but we'll just do it for us for the moment. Ryan's made a really good point actually. He said so the logo also looks a lot like robot eyes with hands and hands as reflection. I guess, I mean, if we're going like a tech company or something a bit off piece, there's some similarities if you wanted to, but yeah.
See, I don't like this here, but it's good that we tried it. Let's see how it looks now, like inside this little oval shield shape. See, like it's already starting to be messy, and like I don't necessarily follow like all my rules, like my ruler lines is all over the place.
do you ever hide your artboards at all? Do you keep your artboards kind of with the gray in the background? That's
with the gray in the background, because sometimes I want to see if like if it's nice white. So I'll just do this and then use the color picker. I'm like, and then usually it stays there.
I'm totally guilty of I do my art, well, not necessarily until you get to that final stage, you're in a good point of the design and it's a bit more refined, but at that initial stage my artboard is just it's just wild. I feel like I'm just a kid in a candy shop and I've just got the munchies. So yeah, it's a bit crazy when it comes to, but again, it depends how you work. Everyone's got a different method of working, and if you find it easier to do it that way, then yeah. So again, for you guys joining the chat, it's kind of nice to sort of see different ways of how we all work as designers.
That's it. And there's no right or wrong answers really for how to design something, as long as you get to like a result with sorry, I'll start that again. As long as the client is happy in the end and you're happy with the results yourself as well.
Definitely. Exactly.
So I want to just like add a bit more thickness, because I think that right now with this it looks a little weird because like it's not thick enough and there's too much contrast. So I'm like, this is probably not the same thickness, but it's good for now, and I won't expand right away.
I mean, you're getting some really great feedback, Isabelle, in the chat. We've got Steve who said this is pretty amazing, and we've also got Steve again saying basically we can't wait to see the end part of it. We've got Shiva saying I love seeing this process.
Oh, Shiva, I know Shiva.
There we go. You got your posse in the group. I love that. Again, it'd be good to know where everyone's from, where you're actually tuning in from. So mention where you're tuning from, and we can sort of be great to sort of see. Isabelle's in Canada. I'm in London. So again, that's quite a nice. We're quite far apart, but we're connected through this Adobe live stream. So that's pretty awesome.
To see this, I like kind of split them apart, but I want to make sure that the spacing between them is equal. So again, align tool, your best friend. There you go. Let's see. Then we can add this. I always group everything. And whenever I'm like moving them around, I should also make sure that it is centered. It was not bad for just doing it with the eye.
Wow. I mean, oh, sorry, no, go on.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
No, as I was saying from the chat, I was on that topic of where everyone's sort of tuning in from, Isabelle. We can see. So we've got guys from Germany. We've got Dadla from Germany, if I present that correctly. Shiva from Toronto, obviously your mate. We've got someone from Wellington, New Zealand, India, South Africa, Netherlands. Wow, I mean, you've gone global, Isabelle. It's your thing's already trending. I love that. It's good.
The pressure is on.
No, it's all good. You're in a safe space there. It's all good.
Yes. So how about this? Can we in the chat, because like I'm pretty sure for some of us are bilingual, as I am. Can we see like how you say hello in your language?
I like that. Let's do this. We've got a really good question actually from Nicole, who said, so Isabelle, do you have any tips on how to effectively break into graphic design career when pivoting from a different career track?
So yes, I can actually talk about that. So I technically didn't study graphic design. I actually studied visual arts. And to me, I really wanted to have a creative career. So I had to find a way to kind of like make money doing what I liked. So after I graduated, I took some night classes for graphic design as I was still working as a waitress, which was my university job. And I just like worked on my craft, built my portfolio, started freelancing, because then I was kind of legit having some real client work. So I put myself out there, and I won't lie, there was a lot of learning curves. And I wish that, I had a mentor or something like that, but you do it what you do. And I think I also like kind of didn't know back then that I could even ask people to be my mentor or something like that. You learn.
You do. And actually you made a good, when you started out, I guess, perhaps there wasn't a lot of resources out there, ones you didn't really necessarily know about, exactly. Which is why, using what we're using now with Behance and Adobe Live, there's a lot of tutorials for you guys to kind of, get stuck into and to watch. So, yeah, hopefully, Nicole, that answers your question, because that was a really nice question actually about that, that starting out, because sometimes people assume, yeah, born and bred designer, boom, it's all good, went to uni, and sometimes that is the case, but necessarily everyone's got a different path, right? So it's quite nice to explore different routes of how we get there. So,
that's it. And I think that if you just practice, and if you know where you can improve and work on your where your weaknesses, like I know for a fact, this is actually quite funny that we're doing this today, but I know my weaknesses is type. When it comes to design. So I try to have I have this actually wonderful magazine here. It's called Type 1. I think it's from the UK actually.
Hey, my neck of the woods. Okay.
Yeah,
I love that. That looks good. Who's that by?
It's by Type 1 actually.
Okay.
And there's
this
is, and it's all about type. So that's it. Like the stuff that is harder for me. I try to read more about it and get curious about it, because that's how you're going to get better at your craft, right?
Of course. Of course. I love that you had that already. That's again having that resources, right, of not only just stuff digitally, but having that print as well, of just taking a bit of a break maybe from the screen and just having a nice book, something tangible, right, just to rick through for research. That's
I guess cool. This is a way, when you asked about finding creativity, I guess there is that. It's not necessarily going outside or going out on a weekend. I wish I was in Europe. I could just be like, oh, this weekend I'll go to Paris. It's kind of easy to travel. But hey,
it's interesting because oh, sorry, no, go on.
No. I was gonna say here. There's Ottawa is in between Montreal and Toronto, and that's the main cities that people know in Canada. What they don't know is that New York is only 8 hours away, a drive. So we do have a mainstream city close by. I
love that. You've plugged your town. I love that. Just do it. Why not? I'd love to visit Canada. I've never visited before, but I was actually in Spain literally a few days ago, and even on the idea of inspiration, I don't know if you'll find this, but when you go into a supermarket in a different country, just taking in all the different packaging and all the different products from that from that area or country, it's incredible. I love seeing the difference of different packaging, and I try not to geek out too much, but that is pretty cool. I do like to do that. Some really good feedback again on here. So some really good feedback. Everyone's saying the magazine covers that Sharad loves, that magazine cover that you just shared, Isabelle. That's all good. Dala said, Isabelle, I like the designs in the background. Can you show them?
Design in the background. So this.
I think hopefully. So yeah.
So where it's going. So basically, I'm trying to have like different combination, like to see if there's one like sometimes like even though I'll go back to this here. Like I like this, right? But I'm like, maybe I can like even this here. Like I tried other stuff. So I'm trying to see if there's other combinations that I could see, like to see if it's good. Cause I don't want to pitch my first design to the client.
Of course. You got to keep some things to yourself, right? I get that. Can't expose all. I like that. Show your cards too soon.
Yes, that's it. It's because you also don't know if you might find something else that's like better than what you thought, right? So you have to allow yourself that exploration. So right now I want to reflect. So that's it. I'm like using the same tools really as I'm doing this. That's it. And I think after this one, I'll be done with this font and I'll like jump onto another font.
I see, Nicole's actually made a really good, well, this is actually quite a lovely one actually. So she said, thank you for that, that tip you mentioned about your background. And she's actually studying fine art. And she's mentioned that, she's been teaching and that she wants to create a bit more and do this for a living. But the Adobe Lives have been the best tutors so far. So a big thanks to the Adobe Live team. And again, if you just join in, this is Isabelle working with a lovely logo design. And on that topic of what Nicole was saying, these are the programs that we can, tutorials you can watch and you can get a real insight into other designers, how their process works, and also definitely check out some of the Adobe Live that we have on Behance, because even when we're offline, you can still watch a lot of the content. So definitely get stuck into some of the cool designs. We'd love to see them as well.
I have to share a personal story.
Sure.
So essentially, about 2 years ago, I was working as a designer for the federal government in my city. And I wasn't happy. I knew that I needed something more. And, freelancing was always in the back of my mind. And I knew that I had kind of the entrepreneurial bug. So I told myself, like, I was starting this job like in a new department. I was like going from department to department trying to see if it was just the environment or like the department itself that I didn't like, or was it me? So I did 3 departments before just saying like, okay, I just don't like it. I'm like forcing this on myself. But I actually tuned in a lot on Adobe Live. And I remember watching the full branding process of Amber Assay. That was in 2019. So I would say 2.5 years ago. And I told myself, one day I'm going to be doing this. One day I'll be doing a live. And funny enough,
Boom.
by putting your stuff, but the thing is, you have to put your stuff out there. But you need to refine your craft. And whenever you're proud about something, put it out there, because you never know what type of opportunity that can bring back to you. And that's exactly what happened, because then I got a sweet email, which I thought was a spam.
I like that.
And I'm just like, oh, okay. But I mean, the signature seems right. Like the email seems right. So like,
seems legit.
It seems legit. Yeah. So like, I'll answer, hey, I'm interested. See what happens. And then, and then now we're doing this. Like
that's brilliant.
It's so cool how like things can go, but that's it. You never know who's watching your work. And the same thing goes for clients, right? Like sometimes I'll put something on Instagram, there's not necessarily any comments, but then I'll get an inquiry saying, oh yeah, I saw this project and I really love it. I'm looking for something similar in similar style. And it's like, oh yeah, perfect. It does not mean that there's not noise, that people are not noticing you. So just do it. And same thing for Nicole. You were saying like, you're thinking of transitioning, do it, try it. The worst that's going to happen is that you fail. But if you do, you learn, you try again.
You do. That's a good point. And it's actually interesting because again, with students or even graduates who are watching this, or those who just in general just want to start out, you made a really good point, of just kind of putting yourself out there. And sometimes it's tricky because I don't know if you find this as well, Isabelle, but with social media, it's one of those ones where obviously we all put our best selves, right? It's social media, and it can get a little bit claustrophobic in terms of if you see someone else doing something else in your field and you're thinking, should I be doing that? But I guess the beauty of it is just, kind of just doing you and just kind of, be inspired, see how people connect, collaborate. At the end of the day, you are yourself, you're an individual. So, flaunt it, explode, experiment, have fun and collaborate as well. I think that's also quite a nice one when you can, if perhaps the confidence isn't there to maybe do your own thing, work with someone else who has a similar passion. And then that way you maybe can create something quite cool together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's for the Ottawa Design Club, for instance, how it came about was that I attended an event in Montreal. Okay, I cannot get this thing to flip. I am so sorry. It's because, okay, there you go. Sorry. So I was in Montreal for the day by pure coincidence. And one of my followers, his name is Sergio, which he may be watching right now. If you're here, Sergio, please say hi. He sends me a message and he's like, hey, we have this event. You should join. I think you will really like it. And it was a print edition. So obviously I'm like, hell yeah. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for saying this. Let's just bleep that out.
You can use emojis to sort of put awkwardness or a super smiley. It depends on how he's feeling for it.
That monkey's oh no.
I was thinking that would be right. We got a lovely comment actually on the from Neelish saying I think it's going back to what we were talking about the story of putting yourself out there. They said, let me download that story and play it in my dreams. I love that. It's to be fair, those again, like we were saying before, these are the stories and sharing experiences that we love to hear at Adobe Live. And things like, again, we said before, but like Behance and these platforms out there, it allows you to really get yourself out there, right? And to see what people are working on and just to share. I mean, that needs to be the key, just to share and be inspired. So yeah, I really love that story. We had
that's it. So with the Montreal Design Club, it just happened, and then I left the event feeling amazing, and I'm like, we need this in Ottawa. So Ottawa has this stigma because we're the capital and we are a government city. So there's this stigma that we are a boring city, but there's so much creativity happening here. So I just slide into the DMs of the Montreal Design Club and I asked, hey, can I franchise your event to Ottawa? Because I really like the model. I didn't necessarily want to start from scratch. I wanted to use the network that they had. And again, I just felt so amazing. So they answered right away, yes, let's talk. So we had a phone call right after this message, and I was so giddy and nervous. So right now, I want to copy 2 shapes at the same time. I did not know this until later in my career. Sorry, I'm just going to.
That's all good. I mean, again, as well, with the different tools that we use, it's we're forever learning, right? No one, for me, same thing. I use Illustrator, Photoshop, but there's always different products that's always coming out and different tools, especially when you update via the Creative Cloud as well. So that's the fun part of it. Just experiment, right?
That is the fun part. So if you want to duplicate more than one shape at a time, you just hold down the Shift key and then. Okay, sorry. I'll do that again. I'll group that first. Hold down the Shift key. It won't do it. There you go.
We got it.
You want more than one shape at the time.
Just slowly but steady. I love that. Wins the race. We got a lovely comment actually, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Arca Faber, who said, and this is actually quite an interesting point. So clients can be sometimes quite difficult with very little knowledge of what might work for them. Just as opinion. I guess going back to when we first started this stream, Isabelle, you mentioned about the questionnaires that you send out to clients. Maybe that that kind of feeds into kind of giving a bit of trust to you as a designer and to knowing, cool, this person knows what they're doing, and actually kind of trust that process. Is there anything else you would say on that topic of when you get that sort of tricky client, or for advice for people who might find that they've got something tricky and you want to bestow some confidence in that client?
Yeah, so it did happen last year where there was a client that kept changing her mind, and I think that's because she was doubting her business and she did not know, and that's where the questionnaire is a really, really great tool, because I could say, well, you approve this, like this is the direction that we decided together that you agreed to. Like if you want to change the direction or the positioning of your business, then we need to go back to that step and then start over with the design process. And it's all written down, right? Like there's steps.
I got evidence.
Exactly. That's it. The questionnaire is also a great way to protect yourself. Yeah. So, and then she's like, okay. And then she went back to the questionnaire and like answered everything. This time I did not do the interview process because I think she needs to do the reflection on her own. And after I reread all the answers, it was like a complete 180. At first, it's like she wanted her business to be more about herself and be more kind of like a personal branding. But after reading the question, she's like, no, I think the best way to do it is to be more like a storefront. So which like it's, if that's the way you want to do it, like I need to know, because obviously, yes, it will affect the design of the logo specifically. A personal branding is really different than a business brand. So
that's a good point as well. I mean, just touching on, I worked with personal and business as well and clients, but you do find with those personal projects, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because they are really lovely projects to work on because it's the client and it's clear their passion and they've come to you to design. But there's also that point of actually it's their baby. So how much leeway or creativity do you really have to kind of, basically, have fun and just kind of stamp your mark on it? So it's a bit of a balance, but, you made a really good point, and you touched on it before, Isabelle. It's almost, you're not walking the client that stage, but you're kind of allowing it for that both parties, yourself and also the client, to have an understanding from the very get-go via that questionnaire. And it kind of allows things just to be very transparent. And like you said, you can always refer back to it. And you made a good point about the safety part as well. That's, again, for those in the chat, that's I'd imagine quite a very important one, obviously, just to make sure that, especially feedback, right, and amends, and just having that point of contact or that point of email that you can always refer back to and as a document, which keeps everyone safe, right?
Absolutely. And also mood boards, right? Like the mood, like once that questionnaire is complete and approved, that's when I'll go into the mood boards. So the mood boards will truly tell, did I understand the vibe that you were going for? So again, like that, technically for that specific client, it was also approved. So I'm like and yes, she was, and she was mad because she's investing some money and and I'm like, what, like let's just talk, like we're both humans, and let's see how we can fix this. And overall, it was just a growing pain. She's super happy with her brand now. So that's it.
You made a really good. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you actually said that keyword, like human, just being human. Like I always try to remind yourself that you could be the best designer in the world or just starting out, but it's that element of just being quite transparent, right, and just trying to understand. Right, both of you want to get to that best deliverable, but let's try and be honest about it, and that human element of it. I always find when you can have a good conversation, it actually helps when you have a bit of laughter as well. I always find if you, when you have a first initial client meeting, and obviously it's serious and you obviously want to impress and they obviously don't know what you can do, that's all good. But actually, just add a bit more human elements to it as well. And just, you know, I always find that really feeds into, because then I want to actually be more inclined to want to work continually with you as well, right? As freelancers, we want to keep on doing more work, not just a one-off. So yeah.
That's it. And coming also from, like, technically when you freelance, you are running a business. So you know exactly what they're going through. So you can bring that element of empathy as well into the conversation. Like, I have been there. It's okay to change your mind. It's not easy. It's not easy to have all the answers up front. Let's talk. That's something I'll tell my client every time we have that first initial meeting, is like, no matter what, if you feel like you should tell me something, just tell me, and it's going to be okay. I'm here to help you succeed. If you succeed, I succeed. So let's work
Isabelle,
together.
you're bringing out these little quotes. I love these quotes from the pixels to this one. It's like little gems. We need to put those in the chat so we have those, because they're really good to remember as well. Really, really good. And some really comments again. We got a lovely comment which says, so the questionnaire is actually quite a really scientific approach and a positive approach. And I've learned this is a very valuable thing today. So thank you. So that was a lovely comment to send to you.
There's a lot of questions that you can find online too. Like, you could type like what questions to ask on client meeting for logo design, for website design, for branding design, and you can find a lot. So this is actually a great place where to start, and then you kind of filter and make it kind of your own. I probably everybody knows him, but Chris Do is kind of like the, you know, for business. And I was watching one of his tutorial, and it was from Ben Byrne, I think, which is he works under Christo. And he said, at the end of a meeting, after you pitch a design, in order to bring that laughter element, you could say, did we miss the mark? So that way, like, most of the clients will just laugh, right? And you'll get like an automatic vibe. Like, if they laugh, it means that you've done something good. If they say, well, but even if they say, well, they will still kind of make a joke about it and kind of like ease off like that conversation.
It's like a reaction, isn't it? Yeah, I like that.
So sometimes you need to be bold and ask like the true questions.
You do. And actually, it's interesting, because I always find I almost have not a go-to phrase, but if there's a question which my brain tells me, I think I should know this, but I just don't know it, and you kind of want to ask the client, I always kind of start by saying, well, I've got the silly question of the day for you. And it's almost like that sets off a bit of a, okay, but at least I've kind of covered that mark where it's just like, I don't feel so silly now, even though I've said, do you know what I mean? It just has that element of, you know, just being honest, because nothing worse than pretending to know what you're doing and you do it wrong, and then it's just it's no one wants that, right? As a designer of a client, it's not ideal.
So I'm still playing around with the N and the D. I think this is quite interesting, but I'm getting kind of that butterfly thing that I don't necessarily want, but it's interesting. Could maybe use that for a pattern. Oh, that's something I forgot to mention. Oh no, I did say it. Like this here will become part of the pattern with the logo, right? So it's important to have that in mind, and those shapes, like how I can be like connected together. Like if I do this, like I could easily see it being repeated like that. Even for like, you know, like a pattern that would go on your sleeve or something like this, like a ribbon or a scarf or something. Like sometimes like you find like some cool things that's happening while you design, and you're like, this
my brain thought like else. A watch strap. I don't know why, like a watch strap that my brain could see that could be it could work quite nice potentially. But actually, a question as well for those who've just joined, actually, because you mentioned about the recapping. If you just joined, at the very beginning, we were seeing some of the research that Isabelle worked on, visual research, which covered from colors to shapes within that culture. And now we're just kind of playing with the logos. We've got the logo design, but we're just looking at, slight variations. So welcome if you've just joined, and you are right now in the thick of the logo design. So it's all good.
Yes. So we're just playing around with the N and the D for NIYO D, essentially, which is the name of the brand. Okay.
Isabel, I think we've started a trend by saying, we spoke about having that ideal client, or that stupid question. We've got Felix, who's sort of put his opinion, saying, I used to work with an artistic director who just sent the material via email. Can't ever feel the human being behind the brand. What a nightmare. I feel like we've all got, some stories or one way or another, which kind of covers that, right? Which is, it's kind of nice to share, actually, because we're all in that same category.
Absolutely. So solution for that, if you want, do video emails.
What did you say, sorry? What was it?
Do video emails. Which brings that kind of like personality, especially with the pandemic, right? Where everybody was working at home and not necessarily having that chatter at the beginning. Like, I know some of my friends who did work in an office were saying, like, now via email, it's not, oh, how was your weekend? Or, at first somebody would come to your office to ask you for a specific task or folder. And they would ask about like how you are, how are the kids, or how is your dog?
The time's been set.
That's it. And now it's like, I need this tomorrow. So that's a little complicated. So by doing video emails, like you could get that out of the way.
Just personal. I don't know if you find this as well, like with some clients I work with, not all of course, and again it depends on the client and their tone and their style, but you do occasionally get the odd emoji in an email, and it's almost like, okay, so we're on that level of being cool, are we? I like that. So for me, I mean, I'm quite chilled in that regards, but I tend to resonate a bit more when it's not like crazy emojis, but just something like a smile, or just so it feels a little bit more, okay, cool. Well, by human beings as well. Like we have a laugh, I think it's more of a Friday email, isn't it? Really, maybe not a Monday morning. But, depends on your line of work. Maybe you love your Mondays.
That's true. I would do it all the time, even at the government. And sometimes if it wouldn't work, depending who I was sending it to, I would put it in brackets. I would say, here, insert smile emoji.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it made my email fun.
To be fair, I'd be more inclined to want to respond to that if I got a message from the government with the occasional tongue hanging out emoji, or just like a rocket or space, or that'd be like, dude,
why not?
This person's cool. Why not?
Stand out, be different. Everybody else is taken. Be yourself.
Exactly. The comments are doing really well. So we've got got Felix saying that they love the dot before and after the pattern. I think you had that just a bit above.
Like this one here, right? Yeah.
Which kind of houses it in.
I like that. I might see how there's like this little. I'll go back after. Like I'll finish it with this one. And I think after that, like I'm ready to try it with like the word mark beside it. I think we have enough just to see where it's going. But yeah, so far,
Oh no, sorry, please.
It's like I feel like there's enough, but like this one is like my initial, which I guess I kept for last, but it's my initial like sketch from the research. It's kind of awkward right now, so I want to just make sure that all the lines are like the same. Like I'll just go and add a rectangle here. We've
Shiva. I think Shiva's your friend. Is that right? You said that.
Yes.
Yeah. She said that, and I love this one. This is totally true, actually. So her go-to one on the topic when we're discussing about humanizing emails with clients, her go-to is "ha" or exclamation mark every few sentences. Every few sentences could be a bit overkill, but to be fair, if it works, why not? It works, right? So
exactly.
It humanizes it.
That's it. It's not always like everyone that's will laugh.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, it's not always for everyone either. I mean, if you can't have fun at work, that's sad.
But it's interesting though, because like with I don't know if you find, I mean, we're both freelancers, right? So I guess we're quite fortunate to be able to work with, and select our clients and that bespoke. But I always find that the more clients you work with, I don't know if you find this as well, Isabel, but you start to know more about yourself as well as a designer. So you kind of judge the moment and kind of sense, okay, is this a ha kind of email? Or is this a, kind regards kind of email? Do you know what I mean? So there's that element of, we spoke about obviously humanizing it, and making it more casual. But again, it's very much kind of reading the tone, and that just takes time, perhaps, depending on who you're working with.
Yeah, it can take time. At the same time, I mean, I can get a little spicy sometimes.
Do you mean like GIFs as well? Are you sending GIFs, or is that too?
Oh no, like I'll send out a video, and I'll for the introduction, like whenever people like are asking for an inquiry, I'll have this. I'll make a quick video just introducing myself, and I'm like, hey, I'm the face behind IP Design. Nice to meet you. And I on purpose will be extra.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, well, not extra like in a bad way, but extra meaning like, overly happy and just be like, I'm so excited to, meet you, like for this, like, let's do this. I have a few questions, and I'll just make sure that there's a lot of personality into it. So then they know exactly what they're getting themselves into. Because if they don't like my personality, odds are we won't be working well together.
True. I like that. And actually, you made a good point. It's to be fair, I mean, if I was the client and I got not over the top Isabelle, but like a very super happy, I'm thinking, yeah, I want to work with this person. Like the vibe is good. So clearly their work process must be, on par as well, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
There are times sometimes with introverts that they will get like that. But I'm like, oh, well, maybe she will get me out of my comfort zone. So this is maybe a good thing. So there's that, So I'm kind of liking this here. Was it Felix that said that he liked the dot? Let's add a little dot.
Yeah. So the comments are great. It's a lot of it is talking about, again, like the idea of the patterns that you've got going on and the different shapes and how you kind of done that. So it's great. And actually, we've got a lovely comment about the sort of embroidery. They mentioned they love the patches on there. That could be quite nice with the clothing.
It would be super nice. Anything Darius has as a vision will be amazing. I can't wait to see. I don't know if this is going to be.
My brain is I can literally, I know we spoke about before, but like business cards and like, embossed, you can imagine that cross you've got just slightly raised, like a nice gold. I'm not going to geek out too much now, but like there's kind of like different variations of, depending on obviously the material, of course. But yeah, that could work nice. These styles.
You're also like the print guy, so obviously your brain is going to go there.
The print guy, I mean that is on my passport. That is Kieran / print guy Lewis. It's a thing. And actually we got Marizanne saying this process is so incredibly fascinating. So yeah, everyone's super intrigued, Isabelle. So it's good.
Okay, so now I'm like, it's messy. I'm kind of happy with how many, I could go on and on and on because there's like endless combinations, and I could try other fonts too. Not necessarily the serif, the script one. That would be weird actually. Kind of do want to try a few with this one. So, because I like the slanted look. My bad.
With fonts, I guess with fonts as well, it's quite a tricky, because I guess it's one of those ones where, like a kid in a candy store, right? There's the variations and the styles and serif or sans serif. Do you find that in itself is selecting the right font, right, is so important, but is there kind of like a method to how, is it more of how you feel, or do you kind of experiment? It's a big question, right? But yeah, how do you find it?
It is a big question. So for most projects, like the mood board will kind of give a vibe of the direction that we're trying to go in. So then it's like, you'll know like, oh, like it would make sense to have a serif font or a sans serif font or a script font. I tend to buy fonts like these. Most of them are actually fonts that I bought. And that's why there's not that much, because there's, I'm considering budget at the same time.
Yeah.
But I like to work with fonts that I know that not a lot of people have. So that will also give some exclusivity to like the logo. They're like, obviously working with Adobe fonts or even Google fonts is not a bad thing. And it's great because it's then easier to add to the website if if you want to have consistency. But that's just something that I like to do specifically for this one, because it is, since it is a fashion brand, like we want to have that fantasy happening, you know? So
that's a nice point. You mentioned, I was gonna say, you mentioned, going back to the visual research, that's quite a nice way to kind of set the tone of what sort of font you select. So for those who've just joined in as well, we, sort of covering what we said previously, but we looked at some really great visual research, and you had different types of fonts. So that's kind of fed into the fonts you're working with now. So yeah, if you just joined in, welcome, and have a look into insight into Isabelle's creative world of logos design.
Yes. So I kind of want to try something different here, which was also from one of my sketches, like a little more, how can I say this, sport-like, because Nike was also one of the references for the brand. And this could be interesting, like inside.
Got a lovely question actually by Felix, and this touches quite similarly with what you're doing now, because there's variations of it. But Felix has asked you any way you would work differently for textile versus digital versus print in terms of the logo you produce or what you're creating say now. Do you think of it in a different kind of light depending on the medium?
No, I think of the logo as far as what is it going to communicate, instead of, well, I mean, obviously it needs to be readable if it's going to be printed or digital, but if it's a good logo, no matter what, it will scale, it will be it will be readable in black and white. I love it. Yes, exactly. I love intricate logos, but sometimes I'm like, how would that translate? Like if it was like a little patch, if there's a lot of details to it. Again, it depends on where it's going to be used, which is a question that is asked during that questionnaire period.
You might have to make this a downloadable piece, actually. The questionnaire, Isabelle's top tips questionnaire, so that we can all have an insight into that space. Do you ever find as well, it's about, again, it's brain's gone completely blank now, actually. I do apologize. I forgot what I was going to say. Don't worry, but it's on the topic of this still anyway, before I remember.
Like, I don't hate that. Like, it's different. It's not as like pattern-like, but it's not pattern, but like the shapes, geometric shapes, but it's still, there's still something to it. It has a different presence. Like you could see this here is a bit more bold. It's a bit more prominent, whereas this is a little bit more refined, a little bit more elegant, which is something, again, like both feelings were talked during the interview process, the questionnaire. So we'll see what the client decides on.
Nice. And that question has actually come back to me now. It had like a weird sort of 360 kind of moment. So that idea of the fonts as well, and that you use, I always find as well, it's about the audience as well, right? And the market you're working with, because if we're working with, say, different generational, say younger, for different platforms, they're going to have a different perspective on, say, an older generation. So I guess for those who are just starting out on, if logo design is really your thing in the chat, thinking about these kind of elements, which we spoke about, myself and Isabelle, with different audience and obviously the tone of voice, these are very important things. And it's always good to sort of keep those things in mind when you're designing logos.
It's doing something funny right now. I want to bring this at the top instead of doing it all together. I'll just. Sometimes it does that. There's like some anchors that you don't want there. So you have to go in and remove with that pen tool.
That's my favorite. Without geeking out, like when I first started at a digital agency, I remember this guy called Joe Towers, his name was. He sort of showed me how to use a pen tool for the very first time, and my brain just could literally you can scan something in and just trace over it. Like what? Like it just felt like a massive like, okay, right, this is awesome. Yeah, it's always nice when you find that right tool that you can just keep playing around with, right?
It's so great. I do some illustration work. I don't do, I mean, I used to do more. It takes a lot of time, but it was for my own pleasure, the illustration work. Nice. And the pen tool was my best friend. So the align tool and the pen tool. And you're right. Once you master that Bezier curve properly, it's like a whole new world of possibilities that opens up.
So true. So true. I'd be curious to know, for those in the chat, I mean, if you, obviously with Adobe, there's so much products with Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, various, is there any sort of programs that you tend to really enjoy to use with your craft, or any particular tool? We'd love to hear it, put it in the chat and I'll mention it back to Isabelle. But yeah, this is a place to definitely share those kind of thoughts.
So I actually want to try something. Let's see.
I'm getting a sort of vibe from, do you remember, I don't know if it was, well, I feel like perhaps in sort of school books, we did like the Super S. Do you remember like the Super S, Superman?
Oh, yes.
Like, yes. I don't know if there's like a name for it, but just like, I used to get told off from my school teacher for just drawing I'm going to go off piece now. But yeah, for drawing my books. But that was definitely a thing growing up. And I just saw that, and yeah, my childhood just flashed before my eyes there on Illustrator. It was great. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like this one as much. And now I'm just going to pair them, and like I'm like, like it's nice, but I kind of like them better. So maybe I'm just out of ideas. That's when I know it's like time to move to something else. I'll just expand my canvas a little bit here, which is already like it's a pretty wide canvas, but.
Yeah. It's good to see that the method to the madness as well. Like there's always, as designers, we've all got our own little ways of working, right? But it's cool to see another design and how you operate. So yeah, that's
it. So like it's messy. It's actually not that bad. Sometimes it's way messier than this, but like the research I felt was strong, so I had a good direction on where to start. So that's why. So I really like this one. So let's see what it does like with this.
We can see in the chat as well, everyone's going to put in their favorite tools. We've got the shape builder, an innovative tool. The pen tool, yeah, that's a classic, right? I feel like it's like, what ice cream do you like? Vanilla? Cool, it's a classic. Just, yeah, pen tool is up there. And also shape builder again. Yeah. So the lasso tool in Photoshop. Yeah, that's all the good one.
Yes.
Just the name alone sounds awesome.
So this is like very bold, like with it. I could also see like a monogram happening with the N and D. Let's see what that does. Okay, if we're thinking about like a family, and like usually I don't think about like a lot of logos for like most of my clients, because you want to have that recognition for like the icon or the logo. But since it's a fashion brand and like it's you want it to have some flexibility. So you want it to be able to be like to have some variance like in it.
And also the idea of, a logo that is excuse me, that is stacked, and also the one that kind of works horizontal. That's also quite nice to have that flexibility as well with a brand, right?
That's it. Now let's see.
I think we started a movement, Isabelle, by talking about the Superman. There's quite an interesting comment by Lee Cooper who said, I had to sign it. Well, I had to sign by saying, but I just remember using the Superman S to write sup on everything. Just sup on everything. So I like that. That's cool. We've all got our little sort of quirks, right, as designers. So yeah, share them. We like it to hear about it. So to talk about that. So yeah, please share your design quirks, and it's all good.
No, I don't necessarily like this font with this. It's probably because there's a difference of thickness, but it was even though it was created with the same font, like I'm not sure it actually goes together. So let me try something else with another font. That's it. It's good to try.
Mix it up. Definitely mix it up. And again, just as a little recap for anyone who's just tuned in, you're definitely, right now you're in the thick of Isabelle's logo design. Isabelle's a designer from Canada, and we are working with a beautiful, beautiful logo design at the moment now. So we're just creating the different variants that we could do, start taking influence from our visual research. So welcome if you've just joined us.
Like this, I'm starting to, like, I think this is interesting, but then I feel like the icon needs to be a bit more slanted to kind of follow the same style of the font. So let's see what we can do with this. Always keeping the other one as reference. That's why it gets so messy.
Definitely. I almost feel like it's like you can always not judge a designer, but we all have our different ways of working, right? And I always find layering. I mean, how are you when it comes to, obviously right now we're just doing things, but are you, I mean, I've changed in terms of my process with design, but like, are you one that names your layers? Do you kind of just free for all? How? No judgment here, by the way. It's a safe space. It's all good. If you do, just put it out there. How do you operate?
I do it in Photoshop. And mostly because coming from like a photography background while I was doing my bachelor's degree in fine arts, there was some files that I would have. I think there was one, my biggest one, I had 457 layers.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane. Didn't even get to that level. My God. Okay.
Oh my God. The rendering to save was I would work like late nights and then I would go, because I didn't have like a beautiful Mac as a student. So I would go into like the photography studio and I would work really late. So then like nobody would bother me and I could get into my creative mode. So I went, I think it was 11 p.m. at night. And then I finished everything. It was 2 a.m. So I'm like, yes, I can save and go home. And then it said 2 hours for saving. There was like so I just took my bag and I slept.
Wow. That is insane. Yeah, oh my God.
I know.
But it did get done, right? It did get done, didn't it?
It did get done.
Okay, that's good.
And then I printed it on canvas, which was very interesting. And then I painted on top of it. So it was kind of like a photo / painting. It was interesting.
That sounds insane. Like with rendering and that. I mean, I know I got a lot of friends who work in that space. That's not my space, but the stories I hear, it's intense. It's if you work in, again, with Adobe, we have all these, Premiere Pro and After Effects. So there's a lot of tools that you can, dabble in and explore. But yeah, they all have their own kind of benefits, right? And just kind of knowing what does what. But the rendering process, it's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Okay, so now I want to see. I don't like that.
Like I said, dang, that's commitment, by the way. So about your story before, brilliant.
Well, it was like the grad show. So at the end of your 4 years, what we would do is we would do like an art show really with everybody's work from the graduating year. And it was like being like we would turn the building into a full-on like gallery and exhibits. It was great. Best years of my life. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That's like the beauty as well of like studying, right? As well, like when you're in that when you're studying college or uni and it's the art environment, it's like-minded people working on similar projects. I remember for myself in my final year, oh my God, it was intense, right? It's just that because you want to, the next step is the big wide world of work. And not to scare anyone, of course, but I didn't see daylight, I think, for like 3 days because I was just locked away, podcast music and just designing a book. But at the end, when you create it and you have that final thing to reflect on, there's no feeling better, right? Because all that hard work that you can see it.
That's it.
So it's all good.
So I didn't like the other logo that I did, but it was good that I like tried it. Let's see how it looks like. It's a monogram. I really like this one. I'm really like drawn into this one, I guess. I kind of like this together, and I like the ND by itself as well.
Yeah, it's quite clean and simple.
Yeah. And I like the vibe, like the kind of the more sporty urban vibe from it. But then I want to add in like, I think this one for the like other logo, like this
mix it up.
Yeah, mix it up. So then it's like two different proposition that will be showing the client.
I like that. We've got a question as well about fonts. So excuse me, where do you go to look for fonts? So we kind of touched before, didn't we, about Adobe fonts as a great resource for selecting fonts, but is any other places you tend to find fonts from, or like, again, you obviously purchase your fonts, right? So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's just Behance is actually a really great place because designers will advertise the fonts that they created. So you could say fonts, and then there's a lot of research, not research, but results that will show up, and it's like nice to shop. I call that shopping.
Yeah. That's a really good point as well, actually, because you meant with the fonts, again, you have examples of the fonts in context, right? So you've seen them where you have like a project and you might have that font on a piece of clothing or a branded, or vehicle of some sort. But again, it's nice to see it in context, not just an alphabeted font. So yeah, it's a good shout.
That's it. And then often like the link is provided for you to purchase it. So on that website wherever it's being sold, you can type in the whatever you want, and then it will actually show up. So that's another way, like before committing, because sometimes it can get pricey. You can kind of see, and I would always like kind of what I did here. I even if I'm like shopping for a font, I'll do it title case, lowercase, and all caps.
Yeah.
Uppercase. That was
try before you buy it. Tongue twister, right?
It was like my brain would not translate it. I had like majuscule like in French.
I love that.
So see, like I like on its own, like I like the little dots here, but with the word mark here, I'm like not sure if I like it. I think it's maybe a bit too gimmicky. So I want to remove it, but I'll keep it as a reference. Oops. Group it. So essentially,
and again, for those, sorry, I was going to say, for those in the chat, please feel free to throw your questions out to Isabelle. But sorry, I interrupted you before.
I was like, essentially, I'm repeating the same thing. I'm like duplicating, rotating, adding, aligning, and then kind of seeing how it looks. So this is playing around, really. Like I like that. I think it works well with this. I want to add just a little bit of thickness to the font. To match this here, and maybe this too. Does this align? This does not. Does that? Okay.
Got a question here from Victor. He's actually interesting. Actually, a bit of a query. So he said, "I'm having some difficulty to make a logo this week. I can't think of any solutions different from just using typography." So actually, I mean, I'm curious to what's your thoughts? I've got a question on that, but it's an answer. But what's your thoughts, Isabelle, on that one?
Whenever it happens to me, I'm very fortunate to have creative friends around me. And we're all like in a Slack channel. Nice. So I'll be like, hey, I'm having some issues with this. Do you have 5 minutes? And then we do a brainstorm. I also think, I mean, if you don't have the time to walk away from it, come back to it.
Mm.
I say that, yeah, walking away if you're really stuck, because if you're just there in front of a blank canvas, that's intimidating. When
Tunnel
you
vision,
don't
right? It's just like,
exactly.
yeah.
So if you can maybe go for a walk or call a friend, and sometimes even doing something that's unrelated to the craft. I got a Peloton during the pandemic. Going to the gym was part of my like routine, and I could not do it anymore. So we got a Peloton. So whenever I feel stuck, I go and ride, which helps a lot because it gets me out of my and even though if it's just like 20 minutes, it's just that
Just
sweat.
something different, right?
And I love that the instructors are very motivating. And there's one in particular. She's always like, all right, boss, you got this, boss. And I'm like, she's talking to me.
I love that. It's so personal. It's just like
exactly. I'm a boss lady too. She's talking
I
to
get
me.
it done. That is cool.
Yeah,
that's actually a really nice way. Sorry, no,
no, that's it. I would just say like do something else. Like even if it's time to take a shower, I get my best ideas in the shower. Like mostly when I'm washing my hair, it's probably because I'm massaging my brain. No, I'm totally kidding. But
we all do it. It's fine. It's okay. We all massage our brains.
but no, like I just feel like it's because I'm doing something else, and something that is so automatic that I'm not actively thinking. I'm letting myself that wandering into my own mind and allowing myself that, I don't know, serendipity moment maybe. That's what I would say. I don't know if it helps in any way, so specifically when you're in a rush. That can be hard.
It's hard, isn't it? It's especially when you got like, you got an urgent deadline. It's your brain's thinking, how do I quickly get this done? But I always find it's, you might have a deadline, but you want to get it right, not quick. And sometimes if you have to, take a bit of a step back just to allow yourself to actually then, go all guns blazing, then that's a good thing. So you made a really good point, so obviously you have your Slack group, your friends, sharing it with, say, your peers, or if you're at uni, or, your student colleagues, your lecturers, or even just someone, maybe not from a design background, because, logos and brands are not just for designers, right? They're for everyone. So it's having a different perspective, not just on your own. So it's probably healthy just to take a step back to your question a bit, to just kind of, maybe take a step back, reflect, digest what you've had, and share with other people, and maybe that kind of gives you a bit of influence to create your logo.
That's it. And if you are really stuck and you feel like you need more time, be honest. Call that client and ask for more time. They will probably enjoy the transparency of you saying, you know what, like I hit a wall and I need the extra days, and I will give you a better product if you allow me that. Open communication. You can't go wrong with being transparent. In my
very
books,
true.
Anyway.
no, so very true, right? And it's weird because you obviously want to put your best self out there, especially when you're just starting to have a new client. But nothing more awkward than if you're not feeling 100% comfortable with it. Like you said, you made a good point. Just being transparent, being honest, and then trying to find a way of a nice solution of actually solving that issue. And it might surprise you how much they're actually willing to give you that leeway, right? To allow you to have a bit more space to design something impactful.
They might even help you, like, okay, why are you stuck? Do you need more information? Do you need me to send you stuff? Like they it's a working relationship. It's not just one person working for the other one. That's how I see it. And whenever I do have like the introductory call with my clients, I'm always telling them, you will work as much as I will. It's a complete collaboration. And the fact that they are part of the full process, like from the questionnaire to like selecting the mood boards to, being on call to have those revisions and being part of the brainstorms, they feel closer to the work. So that way, we don't have like a lot of revisions because of that. It's been working well for me. So I'm quite happy with those two. now I kind of want to create the pattern before starting to assemble it like in the presentation document. I think that we will probably do the presentation document tomorrow. And
sure.
If everything goes well, I think that we have a template for everybody.
Ooh. You're treating us, Isabelle, you're spoiling us too much now with with these gems. I like that. In the comments as well, we've got some really good feedback as well. We've got Angela who said, great advice and reminder. And actually, there's a really good question here from, I hope I'm getting this right, S. Kalami, who said, do you normally talk to clients over Zoom/Skype, or is it all done through emails when you get freelance projects via Behance?
It's usually Google Meets because that's what I use. So Zoom, I guess. I try to have that face to face, specifically because like I want them to be part of the full process, right? So like having that conversation and I think that from that face to face, quote unquote, conversation, that they can also see the passion. And if they have some questions, if they're like unsure, right? Like that's when you can like reassure them. If, you know, like buying a full brand is expensive. Like, let's not hide that fact. And it's an investment for the client. And if it's not done properly, like, you know, maybe it won't work. So it's a risk that they're taking. It's a risk that they're going into business to begin with. And then it's a risk that they're hiring somebody to do it for them. So the more that they're like part of the process, the more like reconforting it is for them. That's what I think anyway. Put yourself in their shoes. Like empathy goes a long way.
It so does. And you made a really good point. I mean, even, you know, that idea of trust, but also I was finding that if a client approaches you, hopefully they've done a bit of research into, you know, they've seen your work and they kind of have a feel for who you are as a designer. Because you made going back to what you said previously about it being a two-way rather than just one-way traffic. You know, I couldn't agree more. It's that idea of, you know, yes, okay, you need to impress them with the designs you make, but also they need to hopefully have that element of a sense of trust as well from you to actually allow you to design and to create.
That's it.
So, yeah.
That's why you need to put a lot of stuff out there, like, you know, show up in your Insta stories or TikTok or whatever is the best platform for you. Even LinkedIn is a great place to find some work. And like apparently there was a study that said that LinkedIn posts, if there's movement, even if you do like a quick GIF about like, hey, I designed this. You know, and it's moving. I
love that, that moment.
It will have more interactions than if it's just like something static. So just try it, and it will take more than 10 times to get that traction. Like continue, right? Like it's a journey.
And that's nice because that touches on a bit of, you know, the promotional side with our line of work as well. When you're, you know, putting designers out there, say you've done something on your website and you want, you know, to be shared on LinkedIn, you know, you can use tools like Photoshop and create GIFs or just small things or just something that allows people to be more engaged with what you're doing. So, yeah, that's a really good point. You mentioned that there's elements of just not necessarily just a static piece, but something maybe if it allows you to have a bit of movement, because that will maybe get people, you know, to stop scrolling, right, and just to engage with your design. So yeah.
So now I'm jumping into the pattern and like going back to like the research and talking to the client, Darius, like he really liked the Louis Vuitton pattern and the Gucci pattern, and like that was like very, very important to have a pattern that was made out of the icon. So I just duplicated the icon like a lot of times and aligned it and then grouped it, just again, like just kind of duplicating that. If I need to hold my option.
I know that feeling. Exact same. I do the same thing all the time. It's like, it didn't go with me. It's just like
that's it. So then, like, because I kind of want to have that like brick-like like spacing in between, I will select, I hold down my shift key, select every other 2 lines, and they're like the full lines here, like this is all grouped together. I'm just going to select this, and again, using the wonderful align tool, like that. Then the other, because it's, I didn't pay attention to the alignment when doing it. And then I want to bring it up. Then just to make sure that the alignment in between is good, I'll do this here. And it was already good. So, all right. I like this. And a good way also to see like how it fits, like in like without it bleeding. Something that I love to do is just like doing a rectangle on top of it. Like that. It has to be on the front. I would select everything and do a clipping mask. Let's see how it's like tighter. It's like, actually it's not doing like the effect that I want, because I kind of want it to go on top like that. Let's see. Again. Like, I like that. I like that look. And if it was like on the color, it would help. This is not the color of the brand, but
hot is that hot pink? I can dig it.
That is hot pink.
That's cool. I mean, that's technical Pantone name, I think I've just said there as well, hot pink. But yeah, it looks cool.
It's like it's starting to like to be interesting. Let's like do like a softer color like this, and if we zoom in, like it's, you know, there's some dimension happening. So it's like, okay, like we have something good here. I'm just gonna undo everything and save it. I can even make, I can
imagine a whole bedroom, like a whole room, like covered in that pattern. That would be, I don't know. I can imagine like kind of some awesome background music, Bonobo, if you know that artist, and just like it'd be quite cool, chilled vibes, you know, in the room with this pattern, some interior design.
I want a shirt like that, like a button shirt.
That would be cool.
Cool, like patterns on it. That's why I'm
cocktail in one hand, open button shirt with this pattern. I'm digging that. Yeah, that's great.
so that goes for like this logo here, and then I'll make the other one quickly. So I like to do save as. I don't do like new things.
Just out of curiosity, for those in the chat, with that pattern we just saw, where do you, just again, silly question, but just curious, where do you can imagine that pattern could be used on? I'd be curious to know what everyone's thoughts are, whether it's on a car, interior of a house, just curious. Car. What's your mind thinking when you see it? That'd be a jazzy car, right? That'd be a really jazzy car, but cool.
I'm into it.
I'm digging it. Yeah.
Here you go. This one we can see if it's like perfectly aligned. Like it's not as interesting, I find.
Do you ever use the distribute spacing tool as well, like on the line? Do you ever use the distribute spacing part?
No.
If you select, so one little tip I know. So where you've got a line tab open, you've got the distribute spacing. It's the third row on your tab, a line tab.
Oh, so the third row. So this?
The one on the left. So you've got those two. So you can see you can either do from the top to bottom a line, or in your case, you're doing left to right. So if you undo the image, yeah, and then you click on that one. So now, you know, guaranteed to be bang on perfect in the center. So that's always quite a useful one. And I think you can change the spacing. So if you want it, say, even bigger, wider, there's ways you can enter the number in. But that's quite a useful one because you can have it exactly perfect without you having to go through manually and change.
Let's try it again because I need to learn this.
I don't pretend like I knew that for years. I only recently-ish knew about it, but it is so useful. I always find.
So if I did this, it would.
Yeah. See, there we go. Game changer, right? It's just like my mind is blown.
Oh
exactly.
I love this. See, I've been designing 9 years and I'm still learning.
We all are. It's all good. we've got some examples of where the patterns could be used. So Angela said wallpaper or a tile in a swank restaurant bathroom.
Ooh.
That'd be a jazzy one. I love that.
How about for the fashion brand? Like, where do you see it going? Because tomorrow we'll be doing some mock-ups.
It's exciting.
Like, I'm happy with this. So let's just... So like being mindful of the time, like, should we look into quickly like the InDesign presentation document to know exactly what we're going to do tomorrow?
Yeah, if that works for you, I'd say we've got about maybe 5 more minutes, and then we can sort of get to that point where we'll do a bit of a recap just for those who've obviously been in, and then we can do it. But yeah, by all means, you play it by how you would like to roll.
Because like that's it. Like once the pattern is done and once the logo is done, like I like to start like the presentation document, which I have already started a little bit.
It's like, here's what I made earlier kind of thing. I love that.
But that's it. Like the fun thing with that is that once you create your own template, you can like save as and then like add the name of the client and then kind of jazz it up for the client. So here, obviously, I like to have an intro page of like just it sets the tone, nice visuals. And because I know that Darius really wants to have scarves, like silk scarf, as one of his first prototype for the fashion brand. Hence why like I added some silk here. Just as a reminder. I love that in-depth shot,
by the way. That's a really nice shot that you've got.
So
that
pretty, right?
Really, really nice.
Like, can you imagine having that pattern that we just created on top?
We have to go into max production of this and actually make it into a thing. We should totally do it, right?
Well, I mean, we will do that tomorrow.
Oh, I mean, I was talking about like going globally, but of course, I mean, we're in a process. Like that was a really bad joke, but yeah, it's you can definitely. And again, for those joining, I mean, we're going to be doing a little bit more into this, but I mean, right now, obviously, we've got some time, got 5 minutes, but again, there's a bit of a taster into really what we'll be doing for tomorrow, which is all good. So yeah, let's keep saying.
That's it. So once just so like so you know like what I add like the mood board that was chosen essentially just as a reminder, like this is where the design is coming from. From that, I'll go and have like select a color palette. And funny enough, this, which are kind of mini Pantone cards, was from a Claddy. Claddy does a lot of live.
Yeah.
and she, I think it was one of her first one, and she gave a template. And this was in it for the color cards. So and I just love it because I love Pantones in general. I love their whole brand. So exactly. So it's a cute look, and whenever you select a color, like it's
nice.
It's nice. Okay, well this is black, but if we go in and if we like create something, this a nice turquoise. If it's not on the outline, there you go. It's to be selected. See, like it looks cute. Like, it's like little digital color cards. But yeah, so then I would add like the color palette from this, which we'll do that potentially tomorrow. And then, to present the logos, I like to actually add in, and we can do that right away. I'll go out of the presentation mode. I just pressed on W, like what the client sees and what you see.
I like that. Through the lens or out the lens, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
And then I'll go add like the scan of my sketches. I like to add it there just so the client knows that there was a research behind it. So I'll go to place, and I have
by the way, just when you mentioned that Pantone from Clady, I can see a lot of love in the comments from Clady. So she's one of our Adobe hosts as well. And I have a little fun fact, actually. She was one of my first hosts. Well, one of my hosts who did my first Adobe Live. So yeah, she's awesome. She's really, really cool. And again, getting some chance to sort of see how another designer works and operates through Behance and for Adobe Live, it's definitely worth checking out, which I can see the links being in there as well. So yeah, highly recommend checking out her work, and you get some freebies as well, which is awesome.
Yes, she is awesome. So now like there's like a bit of like visibility like issue. So I'll just go and put that into transparency. So if I go to object, effects, transparency, I like to preview what I'm doing. I'll just do that. Okay, and I like the look of it. Like I think that like it shows.
I'm digging it. Yeah. No, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the bingo part would have been nice in the top left, if you, but that's preference, right? So it's okay. But no, I like the style you've approached there.
Well, you can like reframe it, but no.
I mean, it's totally subjective, right? Like, yeah, it's all good. But
yeah,
but I like how you've approached it like that. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Then here, we would add like kind of the logo fonts, which I like already have added here. The logo ideas. We'll do that tomorrow. You want to present the logo in black and white. The full logo, and if it has color, like it's nice to just have it by itself so the client can see it breathe. I can, I guess, add that right away. Yeah. So I would say that the logo that suits best like this mood board would be, I have to go. Oh no, I didn't save.
Ooh.
Okay, hold on. I know how to do this. I have to.
We're getting a crash course right now.
Oh, it's here. It's here.
Okay.
It's here. But my working document, I did not save. That's because I am live and doing a lot of things at once.
It's all good. It's all good. We're only human. Like at the end of the day, like it's a process. And I mean, even us, we make mistakes, right? But it's fine. You've rectified it. It's all good. It's all good.
At least I had by the way. Yes.
Here's what I made earlier again, sort of thing. I'd say we have about sort of 5 minutes left now. So would you want to perhaps we can recap on what we've done today as like a sort of overview, and then what you want to sort of plan for day 2 tomorrow, so that our audience know what we're working on for tomorrow.
Yes. So today we have designed 2 logos and we have created a pattern, which let me go fetch here. Hold on, I don't know. There you go. We have created 2 logos and then pattern with the icon. And tomorrow we will be working on the client presentation, how to properly present the logo to your client.
Amazing. And by the way, Felix has made a lovely comment. I think anyone's watching, we can relate. He said, I find it very amazing that you're able to design and talk at the same time. So kudos. So that is an art in itself. So don't worry about it. You're doing amazing.
I usually sing at the same time. Like I have my own private show happening in my office usually, but talking at the same time and giving some advice, it's challenging. So thank you so much, Felix.
Yeah. Well, for the audience, I mean, tune in for part 2 tomorrow. Who knows? I mean, Isabelle might do a song and dance depending on how the project goes. Maybe, are we going to be treated to any of that?
This is my gift dance.
You're going to be like a gift now, aren't you? Yeah, you're going to be trending soon on globally. That'd be amazing.
That would be cool, but yeah. No, I will retrieve like all the work that we did today. I don't want to lose that. But at least we have like the logos here.
Brilliant.
And yeah, I have the patterns too. I think, yes. There you go. So at least we have this one that's saved.
We're in a safe space. And I guess, I mean, obviously, you know, for those again who've seen, you know, hopefully been here from the beginning and seen parts of it, you know, we've all been kind of educated and I guess had an insight into your world, Isabelle, which is nice. So, you know, for anyone who's again starting out in logo designs and having a feel for, you know, your journey, hopefully this gives you a bit of confidence into how you should create your own, you know, going back from the beginning of that document with the visual research, you know, and showing ways of how you can lay it out. I mean, this is a really good example, you know, how you laid it out. So it's looking good.
It would look like something else tomorrow. So that's it. Like, because I started, like, I already know I want the patterns here, and we'll have like a lot of room for mock-ups tomorrow, because you want to show the client how the logo can be used after on other products that is related to the brand. So tomorrow we'll be looking into that, and kind of some fast ways to kind of interlink InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator. So it would be kind of taking the work that we did today, which is the logos and the pattern, applying it into something that's tangible for the client, so they can even carry out the vision of their own brand.
Amazing. And I can see a lot of people again in the chat, they've absolutely loved your stream, Isabelle. You've been amazing. So we've got Fabio saying, thanks for the stream, see you tomorrow. We've got Sharad saying, thank you for the session, guys. Definitely join for tomorrow. And Bruce saying, appreciate the process and the workflow knowledge. Thank you, Isabelle. So
my pleasure.
A lot of love. And again, globally as well. It's amazing how people just be sort of tuned in. So yeah, just a little recap. So we're back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So join us and catch part 2. And stay tuned, because we've got XD Daily Creative Challenge coming up shortly, followed by Draw Along with Carl T. Webster. So Isabelle, it's been my absolute pleasure to host you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So again, a massive thank you to all of our guests, to all of our audience, I should say. And the journey continues tomorrow. So we look forward to seeing you there. All right, take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.